All members will report to the floor of the House. We are going to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. Well, good morning. Y'all realize that today is a big day. Big day. At 3 o'clock this afternoon, the baseball season begins. We will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 112th House District, Chairman Dave Belton. Chairman Belton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, I'd like to welcome Reverend Gil Gaynor, the pastor of Lovejoy United Methodist Church in his hometown of Covington, Georgia. A Georgia native, Gil grew up very poor, but he won a scholarship at the University of Georgia where he won 3 SEC championships playing tennis. I didn't know they played tennis at University of Georgia, but evidently they do. Gil graduated magna cum laude at the University of Georgia and then earned a law degree at Mercer. He had a very successful law practice for over 35 years. He unfailingly defended the little guy, his many victories in some very large national cases. Now, I could talk about Gil's very many victories, but I'd like to talk instead about his love. First, his love for his family, his daughters Tori and Emily, his wife of 27 years, Denise Gaynor. You want to stand up, Denise, for us? Thank you. Also, his love for his community. Gil was very instrumental in helping and guiding former Representative Doug Holt, District 112, the seat I hold now. Doug Holt's with us today. Doug, you want to stand up? There you go. Gil is also very instrumental in my campaign. I would not be here if it was not for Representative Doug Holt and Reverend Gil Gaynor. So if you're looking for someone to blame, you can blame these two horse thieves for sending me up here, the village idiot from Morgan County. But I'd like to talk mostly about Gil's love and the sacrifice he made to leave a very successful law practice to follow the path that God has chosen for him. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, my mentor, and my counselor, the Reverend Gil Gaynor.
Good morning. Representative Belton, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity, this privilege, this honor to be in the People's House. I'd like to start this morning with a short scripture passage. It's short, but I think meaningful. If you would, please rise for the reading of our gospel. From the book of John, chapter 17, verses 20 through 23. Lord, my prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message. I have given them the glory that you gave to me, that they may be one, as we are one, I in them and you in me, so that they may be brought into complete unity with one another. You may be seated. Unity. That was the word and that was the message of Christ on that day to his disciples and to us on this day. Have you ever wondered why it is that from a very early age, truly from childhood, adolescence, on through adulthood, we seek connection with each other? We seek to establish meaningful relationships with each other? It's really quite simple. The reason we seek connection is because we are connected. We can thank our parents for our features, for our traits, many other things. But that which is holy, that which is sacred, that which is precious in our Father's eyes came from one source, and that is our Father in heaven. We all share the same Father. We are brothers and sisters. And I don't mean that in a euphemistic way. I don't mean that in a figurative way. We are literally brothers and sisters. This is the season of Lent. And often we hear the phrase, from ashes to ashes and to dust to dust. That's true enough for our physical body. But where life began was not here. It began in heaven. Again, that which is precious and sacred and eternal came from God. God our Father. We share the same Father. We are one family. We are the children of God. So as we think about the work of the people that each of you do each day here, let's keep in mind, let's look through the lens of truth as to whom we are working with. If we see each other through that lens of truth, of who we really are, brothers and sisters of the same family, children of God, from where we come and to where we will return, my brothers and sisters, that can change the world. And I'm not too old nor too cynical to believe that we can change the world for the better. It is a matter of our hearts, it is a matter of our soul, it is a matter of our commitment to one another. This is a time of redemption, a time of reflection, and a time to remember who we are and to whom we belong. In this period of Lent, we have time for that reflection. But it should be each and every day that we recognize and remind ourselves who we are and to whom we belong. This is the people's house. Each of you have been called to serve the people of this great state, many of whom we have gathered right here in the gallery. Listen to one another. Be considerate of one another. Be respectful of one another. And at the end of the day, find common ground to do the common good of this great state. God bless each and every one of you. Let us rise and pray together. Lord, bless each and every member in this house today. Fill them with wisdom, patience, strength, and peace. Help us to remember, Lord, that we are truly brothers and sisters, and to see each other through this lens of truth. Remind us this day of who we are and to whom we belong. We belong to you, Lord. We belong in your loving embrace. Let us linger there and help us to lead others to share in that embrace with us. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job. That's good.
Thank you.
We'll take some pictures here.
Okay.
Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. Chair recognizes Chairman Taylor, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Information and Audits have read the proceedings of the previous legislative day and found them to be correct.
Chairman Taylor, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. Burns, on the 59th moves following be establishes the order of business during the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction to bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Reports of standing committees. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 669 by Representative Jones, the 91st, Mitchell, the 88th, and Carter, the 92nd. Bill being titled an act to amend Article 5 of Chapter 3 of Title 50, the official code of Georgia and Teddy relating to honoring Reverend Martin Luther King, Jr. House Bill 700 by Representative Dollar, the 45th, Paulo, 32nd Herald, the 106th. Bill being titled an act to amend Chapter 34, Title 43, the official code of Georgia and Teddy relating to physicians, acupuncture, physician's assistants.
Health and Human Services.
House Resolution 682 by Representative Jaspers, the 11th, and Martin, the 49th. A resolution creating a House Study Committee on Higher Education Outcomes.
Higher Education.
House Resolution 683 by Representative Stevens, the 164th, a resolution creating a House Study Committee on tax deduction for members of a health care sharing organization.
Ways and Means.
House Resolution 723 by Representative Dreyer, the 59th, Jackson, the 64th, Couch, the 50th, Hutchinson, the 104th, 107th, Howard, the 124th. A resolution recognizing the mission of the Children's Freedom Initiative.
Juvenile Justice.
House Resolution 724 by Representative Clark of the 98th and Jones, the 167th. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so to provide that no person shall be eligible to serve.
Rules.
Senate Bill 242 by Senator Lucas, the 26th. Bill being titled an act to provide for a new charter for the city of Toomsboro.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
Senate Bill 247 by Senator Brass, the 28th, and Robertson of the 29th. Bill being titled an act to authorize the Magistrate Court of Troup County to charge a technology fee.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
Senate Bill 250 by Senator Jordan the 6th, Kirkpatrick the 32nd, Williams the 39th, Harrell the 40th, Karinchak of the 48th. Bill being titled an act to amend and act creating the State Court of Fulton County.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
Senate Bill 252 by Senator Lucas, the 26th. Bill being titled an act to amend and act to abolish the present model of compensating the clerk of the Superior Court of Twiggs County.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
Senate Bill 253 by Senator Lucas, the 26th. Bill be titled an act to amend and act to abolish the present model of compensating the judge of the probate court of Twiggs County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
Senate Bill 254 by Senator Lucas. The 26th bill to be titled an act to amend an act to abolish the present model of compensating the tax commissioner of Twiggs County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
Senate Bill 255 by Senator Lucas. The 26th bill to be titled an act to provide a new charter for the town of Danville.
Intergovernmental coordination.
Senate Bill 257 by Senator Lucas. The 26th bill to be titled an act to amend an act to abolish the present model of compensating the sheriff of Twiggs County.
Intergovernmental coordination.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 669 by Representative Jones of the 91st, Mitchell of the 88th, and Carter of the 92nd, a bill relating to honoring Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. House Bill 670 by Representative Wynn of the 89th, Lopez Romero of the 99th, Park of the 101st, Shannon of the 84th, Dreyer of the 59th, and others, a bill relating to motor vehicles and traffic. House Bill 671 by Representative Jones of the 91st, a bill to incorporate the city of Vista Grove into DeKalb County. House Bill 672 by Representative Petrie of the 166th and Stevens of the 164th, a bill relating to insurance. House Bill 673 by Representative Petrie of the 166th, Hogan of the 179th, Hitchens of the 161st, Sains of the 180th, Stevens of the 164th, a bill relating to special license plates. House Bill 674 by Representative Powell of the 32nd, Harold of the 106th, Williams of the 145th, a bill relating to alcoholic beverages. House Bill 675 by Representative Turner of the 21st, a bill relating to general provisions regarding General Assembly and general provisions regarding salaries and fees of public officers and employees. House Bill 676 by Representative Jones of the 91st, Walensky of the 79th, a bill relating to homestead exemption for unremarried surviving spouse of peace officer or firefighter killed in the line of duty. House Bill 677 by Representative Silcox of the 52nd, Newton of the 123rd, Rhodes of the 120th, Beverly of the 143rd, Cooper of the 43rd, and others, a bill relating to insurance. House Bill 690 by Representative Burchett of the 176th, McCall of the 33rd, Perkle of the 155th, Rhodes of the 120th, Corbett of the 174th, a bill relating to buildings and housing. House Bill 691 by Representative Stovall of the 74th, Smyre of the 135th, Fry of the 118th, a bill relating to enumeration of unfair or deceptive acts or practices and penalty. House Bill 692 by Representative Stover of the 71st, a bill relating to continuances relative to civil practice and procedures and continuance relative to trial. House Bill 693 by Representative Shannon of the 84th, Thomas of the 56th, Hughley of the 136th, Stevenson of the 90th, Cannon of the 50th, and others, a bill relating to social services. House Bill 699 by Representative Fleming of the 121st, a bill relating to membership in the Employees Retirement System of Georgia. House Resolution 681 by Representative Clark of the 108th, Bazemore of the 63rd, resolution creating the House Study Committee on the Effects of Mental Health on Gun Violence. Senate Bill 244 by Senator Mullis of the 53rd, a bill to amend an act creating the Dade County Water and Sewer Authority, through second readers.
Reports of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Representative Tom McCall, 33rd District Chairman of the Committee on Agriculture and Consumer Affairs, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Agriculture and Consumer Affairs had under consideration the following resolution to the House. Instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Resolution 591 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Tom McCall, 33rd District Chairman. Representative Rick Jaspers, the 11th District Chairman of the Committee on Education, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Education has had under consideration the following bills of the Senate. Has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 108 do pass by substitute. Senate Bill 15 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Rick Jaspers, the 11th District Chairman. Representative Ed Reinders, the 152nd District Chairman of the Committee on Governmental Affairs, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Governmental Affairs set on consideration the following bills of the Senate. Has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 71 do pass. Senate Bill 213 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Ed Reinders, the 152nd District Chairman. Representative Sharon Cooper, the 43rd District Chairman of the Committee on Health and Human Services, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Health and Human Services has had under consideration the following bills and resolutions of the House and Senate. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendation. House Resolution 448 do pass by committee substitute. House Resolution 589 do pass by committee substitute. House Resolution 646 do pass. Senate Bill 115 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Sharon Cooper, the 43rd District Chairman. Representative Richard Smith, the 134th District Chairman of the Committee on Insurance, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Insurance has had in consideration the following bills of the Senate. Has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 142, due pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 195, due pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Richard Smith of the 134th District Chairman. Representative Jan Tankersley, the 160th District Chairman of the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Local, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Local has had on consideration the following bills of the House and instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 639, due pass. House Bill 650, due pass by substitute. House Bill 665, due pass. House Bill 678, due pass. House Bill 681, due pass. House Bill 682, due pass. House Bill 683, due pass. House Bill 688, due pass. House Bill 689, due pass. House Bill 694, due pass. House Bill 695, due pass. House Bill 696, due pass. House Bill 697, due pass. House Bill 698, due pass. House Bill 684, due pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Jan Tankersley of the 160th District Chairman. Representative Administration of the 104th District Chairman of the Committee on Judiciary Non-Civil submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Judiciary Non-Civil is under consideration the following bills of the Senate. It has instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 222, due pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Administration of the 104th District Chairman. Representative Jay Powell, the 171st District Chairman of the Committee on Rules, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Rules has under consideration the following bills of the Senate. It's instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 131, due pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Jay Powell, the 171st District Chairman. Representative Setzler, the 35th District Chairman of the Committee on Science and Technology, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Science and Technology has had in consideration the following resolution of the Senate and has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Resolution 275, due pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Setzler, the 35th District Chairman. Representative Richard Smith of the 134th District Chairman of the Committee on Special Committee to Quality Health Care submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Special Committee on Access to Quality Health Care has had under consideration the following resolutions of the House, and this has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Resolution 584, due pass. House Resolution 590, due pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Richard Smith, 134th District Chairman. Representative Kevin Tanner of the 9th District Chairman of the Committee on Transportation submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Transportation has had under consideration the following resolution of the Senate. Has instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Resolution 67, due pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 103, due pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Kevin Tanner of the 9th District Chairman. Representative Brent Harrell, the 106th District Chairman of the Committee on Ways and Means, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Ways and Means has had in consideration the following bills of the Senate. Has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. Senate Bill 119, due pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 120, due pass by committee substitute. Senate Bill 128, due pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Brent Harrell, the 106th District Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
We are about to go on to the local calendar. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills. Local calendar. One bill on the local calendar relates to homestead exemption and requires a recorded 2/3 roll call vote for passage. If there is no objection, we will vote on the local calendar as a whole with a recorded vote. Hearing none, it is so ordered. The clerk will read the local calendar.
House Bill 639 by Representative Setzler of the 35th, City of Kennesaw. House Bill 650 by substitute by Representative Dubnick of the 29th, City of Gainesville. House Bill 665 by Representative Knight of the 130th, City of Locust Grove. House Bill 678 by Representative Howard of the 124th, Richmond County. House Bill 681 by Representative Saints of the 180th, Camden County. House Bill 682 by Representative Saints to the 180th, Camden County. House Bill 683 by Representative Saints to the 180th, City of St. Mary's. House Bill 688 by Representative Belton to the 112th, City of Covington. House Bill 689 by Representative Douglas to the 78th, Henry County. House Bill 694 by Representative Mitchell of the 88th, DeKalb County. House Bill 695 by Representative Wilson of the 80th, City of Brookhaven. House Bill 696 by Representative Jones of the 25th, Forsyth County. House Bill 697 by Representative Pruitt of the 149th, City of Alamo. House Bill 698 by Representative Belton of the 112th, City of Covington. House Bill 684 by Representative Gamble of the 15th, City of Cartersville.
What purpose does Chairman Welch arise?
Parliamentary inquiry. Make a motion, sorry.
State your motion.
Move to be recused from the vote pursuant to Rule 133.
Gentleman has that right, and the journal will so reflect. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on the local calendar? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bills? The chair hears none. The report of the committee Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of the bills on the local calendar, the ayes are 152, the nays are 5. These bills, having received the requisite constitutional majority, are therefore passed. Chair wants to recognize on the floor of the House former State Representative John Deffenbaugh. We're going on now to morning orders. Morning orders. We have a number of members who have signed up. Chair is going to limit morning orders today to 1 minute each to be strictly enforced. Chair recognizes the Majority Caucus Whip, Representative Kelly, for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, last night as I was sitting at home, I started getting messages from a lot of our members who were wanting to know if I was watching the TV last night. I wasn't in a spot where I could, but what a lot of members were talking about is I had a constituent, Dalton Dover, who was on The Voice last night. Season 16 of The Voice. They were replaying some of the best of the blind auditions that had taken place earlier in the year. And so they were replaying the episode that Dalton was on. And Dalton's a great young man from Aragon, Georgia, graduated from Rockmart High School. He has a wife, Faith. He has a daughter, Aaliyah, a son, Taylon James. And he got up and he sang Keith Whitley's song, Don't Close Your Eyes, which is a very special song for him because that was one of the first songs that he learned to play on the guitar. And I just want to spend a little time telling you about Dalton. Dalton grew up singing.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Turner for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A couple of nights ago, I had an opportunity to sit with one of the spouses of one of our colleagues here, and she pointed out to me that a lot of our folks are receiving this letter from Georgia Right to Life, and in it, they ask our colleagues to walk on HB 481 or vote against it. And I just want to point out to you that some of the folks that I am most impressed with amongst our society are those who would run into a burning building to save those that are trapped. And we would never stand in the street and say to a firefighter, "Don't go in that building because you can't save everybody." That's what they're asking us to do. The building is on fire, Georgia Right to Life. How dare you say, "Don't run into that building"? Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Gilligan for a morning order.
Good morning, colleagues. On your desk this morning, you have some information about the #1 killer by disease of children under the age of 19. It's about childhood cancer. If you take every disease that a child can get, and you add all of the deaths by all of those diseases, you still do not come up to the number of deaths caused by childhood cancer. In the corner of that piece of paper, you'll see a gold ribbon. The gold ribbon is the international symbol for childhood cancer awareness. And so I am here to raise awareness for the #1 killer of children. Also on that sheet, you will see that in the past 2 decades, only 4 medical treatments have been specifically developed for the use for children. Otherwise, they're using adult protocols on our children. Up in the gallery, I have with us the Fig family. Caitlin is a survivor and a fighter. Would you please welcome the Fig family?
Lady.
Thank you, and I do yield the well.
Chair recognizes Representative McLeod for a morning order.
Thank you, Speaker Ralston. Big up to my colleagues and the folks in the gallery. Today, I'm here because I was invited to Spelman on March 19th, also known as my birthday, to be a guest lecturer by the former chairman of Fulton County Commissioners, John Eves, who is currently teaching public administration and public policy at Spelman College. Spelman was founded in 1881 as the Atlanta Baptist Female Seminary. In 1924, they became Spelman College. Now as a global leader in education for women of African descent, Spelman is accredited by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, Commission and Colleges, and they are proud members of the Atlanta University Center Consortium. Please help me welcome the young ladies of Spelman College. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes Representative Dreyer for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 50 years ago in this body, a legislator from Brunswick pleaded for this body to protect the marshes in coastal Georgia, and it took the vote of Speaker George L. Smith to send Representative Reed Harris's bill to the Senate for consideration. We want to thank the coastal scientists working to protect this valuable marsh from the threats we see today: sea rise, warming oceans, damages for more severe storms, and exploitation of natural resources. In 1969, legislators listened to scientists. I hope we do the same, and I want to thank my colleague and friend Paul Bolster, a former member of this body who is currently writing a book on the marshes, and I hope we can heed their advice. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Abel Mabel Thomas for a morning order. Chair recognizes Representative Jasmine Clark for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning and greetings to my esteemed colleagues. Today, as we reach the end of Women's History Month, I wanted to highlight an outstanding Georgian and woman in STEM, Mrs. Tiara Gwen Fletcher. She is a graduate from my high school alma mater, Wheeler High School, where Sharon Cooper represents, or Chairman Cooper represents. And after graduation, she pursued a degree in aerospace engineering at MIT, where she earned a perfect 5.0 GPA. She currently works as a structural analysis engineer at Boeing, working on the Space Launch System, which aims to put humans on Mars. It is my pleasure to introduce you all to Mrs. Fletcher, who is up in the gallery, and I ask you all to stand. Thank you for your outstanding work in STEM and contributions to the body of science and engineering. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Marin and Representative Moore for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today with my colleague and fellow Guinetian, Representative Pedro Marin, to recognize a valuable new member of our business community, Improve USA, Atlanta's ultimate home improvement supermall. Improve USA has chosen Norcross, Georgia as the home of its first U.S. location after 4 successful years in Toronto. Improve USA will transform Gwinnett by offering a new home improvement experience for consumers and businesses as a one-stop shop destination for all construction and renovation projects. With over 400,000 square feet, the mall will consist of 429 independent vendor units for sale, all related to home improvement products and services. Please join me by standing to welcome the members of Improve USA in the gallery with us today.
Chair recognizes Representative Marin and Representative McLeod for a morning order.
Big up. Thank you, Speaker Ralston. Big up to my colleagues again and to the folks in the gallery. I'm speaking on behalf of Representative Moran. I'm recognizing Michael Thomas on his outstanding service as chairman of the Caribbean American Cultural Art Foundation. Michael has long been recognized by the citizens of this state for his vital role as he played in leadership and a deep personal commitment to the welfare of the citizens of Georgia and the Caribbean. He is diligently and conscientiously devoted innumerable hours of his time, talent, and energy towards the betterment of his community and state, as evidenced in his dramatically by the superlative service with Caribbean American Cultural Arts Foundation. The foundation mission is to promote educational mentorship, disaster relief, and cultural programs that advances the awareness of the Caribbean arts and humanities. A native of the United States Virgin Islands, Michael also serves as the president of Infinity Global Media, LLC, a media group that celebrates the diversity and inclusion of the Caribbean American, African American, and Hispanic American communities. Thank you, Michael, for all your work that you do in our community, and I yield the well.
Ladies' time has expired. Chair recognizes Representative Pullen for a morning order.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I have a young man, 16-year-old Jordan Hawley from Pike County in the gallery. On January 26th of this year, Jordan competed in the 2019 Revolution Powerlifting Sarasota Showdown in Florida and set world records in a deadlift and a squat for his age division. Jordan's deadlift was 578 pounds, and his squat was 531 pounds. He weighed in at 214 pounds at the meet. Probably pretty sure none of us have set any world records in deadlifting. On March 9th, Jordan won the gold medal at the state competition, and he holds a squat state record in the 105K weight class, the deadlift state record, and a total state record. Jordan also was rewarded with the overall best male weightlifter out of 64 competitors. Jordan leaves tomorrow with his mom and dad, Trey and Sasha, who are in the gallery, along with Scott Riles, who is his coach, Scott's wife, Lisa, for the national championship competition in Louisiana. Jordan, we wish you the best at your competition and hope you bring back a national championship to Georgia.
Chair recognizes Representative Holly for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to advise people of the significance of Atlanta University Center. It's a consortium of our nation's greatest institutions, at least that's my opinion, for individuals and African Americans for higher learning. It comprises Morehouse College, my alma mater, Spelman College, Clark Atlanta University, the Interdenominational Theological Center. And all of our schools coming together, we'd like to highlight that, and so we'll be doing so tomorrow. And so we just ask for you to contact your friends, your family members who are also graduates at AUC, and you'll be able to enjoy it on tomorrow, as we will also have a continental breakfast in Cap 216 tomorrow. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Hutchinson for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. Today I bring to you Rosie. Rosie is one of the almost 200 children in Georgia waiting for an adoptive home. Rosie is an animal lover with a special affinity for dolphins. She would like to be a dolphin trainer when she grows up. She loves listening to country and gospel music. She's a diverse girl. She is well behaved and really wants a mom, siblings, and of course, family pets. Let's meet Rosie. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes Representative Kennard for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm just excited today that the Lord is good and His mercy endures forever. This mercy has no end. It's inexhaustible. It's new every morning. I'm reminded that the God kind of agape love is patient, kind. It holds no record of wrongs. It never fails. Agape is unconditional. There's no strings attached. Therefore, there's nothing good I can do to make Him love me more or bad I can do to make Him love me less. His love just is. It's absolute. There's no reason to fear, for God is not wrathful, angry, or punitive. God is love, and perfect love drives out all fear. God's not mad at us. He's madly in love with us. That's the gospel. That's good news, and nothing can separate us from the love of God. And that love is extended to you and me, all 11 million Georgians, nearly 8 billion people on this planet. It transcends faith traditions. God loves every Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, Sikh, every atheist, and agnostic. The bottom line, if you can't see God in all, you can't see God at all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes Representative Lopez Romero for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With that, I do want the community that is here present today. The Sikhism is the 5th largest religion in the world, and today there are 30 million Sikhs throughout the world and an estimated 500,000 Sikh Americans. Sikhs have been living in the United States for more than 100 years. During the early 20th century, thousands have worked in farms, lumber mills, and mines, and in the Oregon Pacific and Eastern Railroad. Vaisakhi is one of the most historically significant days of the year and is celebrated on April 14th, 2009. This year will be celebrated on April 14th, 2019. So I'd like us to please recognize the community that is present here with us today as we today celebrate Sikh Awareness and Appreciation Day. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Kendrick for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. It is that time of year, the time for my annual birthday rant. So for those of you that have a birthday outside of the legislative session, if you want to join me up here, but many of you know my birthday is August the 28th, which is the same day as the late and great John Meadows, and I don't get to hear the speaker call my name because my birthday is outside of the legislative session. So at this time, if your birthday is outside of the legislative session and you want to stand up so our colleagues can recognize you, please do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. August. Thank you.
Representative, I tell you what, I'll meet you here in the chamber on your birthday. Chair recognizes Representative McLean for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. As you all seeing on your desk, you've got nice green bags, and I just want you all to know that April is Donate Life Month. So make sure that you realize, take your bags, stuff them in on Tuesday, and realize that you can always donate life by also, I renewed my license yesterday and I was an organ donor for the 3rd time. So please realize that April is Donate Life Month. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Walensky for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. March is Women's History Month, and today I honor the Mayor of Doraville, Mayor Donna Pittman. Can you please stand? Doraville was founded in 1971. She's the first mayor of Doraville. She's an amazing leader who is bridging the rich history of Doraville with a prosperous future. She has created economic development and economic growth. It's just a coincidence, but today on the AJC, you'll see an article, Mini City is Rising on Long Vacant Land. With her leadership and many others, they are redeveloping the old Ford plant in Doraville called the Assembly Piece. And that creation will be an urban city with neighborhoods, but it would also create 3 times more jobs than existed at the Ford plant that existed. And I'm excited that it will have the first autonomous shuttle connecting that city to MARTA, which is going to be amazing. So today I honor Mayor Pittman, a strong, forward-thinking, and great leader. Thank you so much.
Chair recognizes Representative Mabel Thomas for a morning order.
Mr. Speaker, I double thank you today and members of the distinguished body. We have House Resolution 659, but what we're doing is recognizing Dr. Joyce Dorsey. Will you stand? Will you stand, Joyce? And all the members with her stand as well. She is the president and CEO of the Fulton Atlanta Community Action Authority, FACA, and champion in the area of service to others. She is a highly sought-out speaker on the issues of poverty. Dr. Dorsey consistently offers fresh insight into how do we solve the plight of the poor, where she's a member of numerous boards, but she's also a member of the Georgia Community Action Authority and the National Community Action Authority. She is the beloved daughter of the late Reverend E.H. and Gladys Dorsey, and from a young age, it was clear that she would lead a life of service. Whereas FACA is a nonprofit organization that annually serves thousands of individuals, families in Atlanta to be self-sufficient. We take this time to recognize Dr. Joyce Dorsey, and we ask that members of the body come down on the 3rd floor in the anteroom so that we can take pictures. Thank you, and God bless your work.
Chair recognizes Chairman Tanner to introduce the Doctor of the Day.
Mr. Speaker. I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Larry Anderson, who earned his Bachelor's of Science degree from the University of Alabama at Birmingham, completed his doctorate at the Medical School of the University of Health and Science College of Medicine in Kansas City, He has a family practice in Dawsonville. He's also an associate professor of clinical medicine at the Georgia campus of Philadelphia College of Medicine, on the board of directors at Shepherd's Clinic in Dawsonville, and he also chairs the county health board in Dawson County. He's also a proud Vietnam veteran, and he informed me just a few minutes ago that he's already treated a heart attack from the Senate side, an employee there this morning that's on the way to the hospital and has good prognosis. So if you would, welcome Dr. Larry Anderson.
Thank you. It is my honor to serve as Doctor of the Day, and although this gray hair may give it away, this is my 27th appearance before this body. But what I would like to do today is thank you for all the work that you've done for Georgians, and especially with the opioid problems that we're having. But this House, about 25 years ago, recognized it earlier when they passed a resolution of appreciation to a company that makes an analgesic called Talwin. And they added naloxone to it so that if you were taking other drugs, it would negate that effect. And if you were on this, you would not take any other drugs. And then you passed a bill allowing naloxone to be available without a prescription. And our first responders, our police, EMTs, paramedics, and fire officials starting using it. And within the first week, we were actually saving lives of Georgians. And then the next thing you did was gave us a very good tool in our office to help manage our patients with this problems. And that was when you passed the prescription drug monitoring program. That has been a big boon in helping with this problem. The aid station is on the second floor. If you have need, please come and see us. If not, we will come to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you.
This House will be in order. We are about to recognize some very special guests that are with us. Chair's going to ask that you remain seated, cease conversation. If you have discussions that need to go forward, we have plenty of locations for you to do those. Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 466.
House Resolution 466 by Representative Silcox, the 52nd, Cooper, the 43rd, Henson, the 86th, Abstration of the 104th, and Walensky, the 79th. A resolution commending the State of Israel and condemning anti-Semitism in all its forms and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Chairman Deborah Silcox for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am honored and delighted this morning to have with us Ambassador Judith Farnay-Shore and some of her staff. We have Lucas Deere, Harold Hirschberg, Kafir Zabari, and Maya Fiddleman. And they are here, of course, to just comment on the wonderful resolution that we passed, of course, commending the State of Israel and condemning anti-Semitism. Ambassador Shore.
Thank you, Georgia House, for your strong continuing support of Israel, especially this year as we celebrate our 71st year of independence. I'm also very appreciative for your support of the House resolution. This resolution affirmed by the 2019 Georgia General Assembly reaffirms the bonds of friendship and cooperation between the state of Georgia and the state of Israel and condemns anti-Semitism in all of its forms. When it comes to anti-Semitism, let us keep things in perspective. Today, the Jewish people are no longer a powerless people. Today, we have a Jewish state. Today, we have an army that can defend that state. And Israel is not alone. We have the support of so many friends around the world, especially in this great country, the United States, who know what Israel's cause is just. The Jewish people have weathered the worst that history has thrown upon us. We will weather this storm as well, as we remember a horrific past and recommit ourselves to fighting against anti-Semitism, racism, and all forms of discrimination, persecution. We should all stand very tall and very proud because we are uniquely blessed generation. Blessed to have United States of America, the country that has been the greatest force for good in history, as the preeminent power in this world, and blessed to have witnessed the rebirth of Jewish sovereignty in modern times, and with it a renewed hope for a secure and peaceful Jewish future. 79 years ago, there was no one to speak up on behalf of the Jewish people. Today, I stand proudly as a representative of the state of Israel. My homeland exists to protect the Jewish people against hostile neighbors, just as the brave Americans and Allied forces did in liberating the Nazi victims 70 years ago. The bond between Georgia and Israel is strong and growing stronger, as your House resolution states. Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East and is the greatest friend and ally of the United States. Atlanta is home to as many as 15,000 Israeli Americans. More than 40 Israeli companies have headquarters in Georgia, and this number is steadily growing. And Atlanta is the heart of America's largest evangelical communities and important to all the Jewish people. As Israel is turning 71 this year, this is an important milestone for my country, as we have become leader of innovation, security, and an outpost for democracy in our region. As we embark on this 71st year, we're young and vibrant, and with our important and enduring relationship between the state of Georgia and the state of Israel, we will continue to prosper and grow. Thank you on behalf of the state of Israel for this honor and for continuing special and strategically important relationship with the state of Georgia. Thank you very much, and I apologize. I'm sorry. The last page is here, yes. She said she doesn't see the tears, so we
Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 625.
House Resolution 615 by Representative Jones, the 47th, Kelly, the 16th, England, the 116th, Glanton, the 75th, and Gambell, the 15th, and others. A resolution commending Thomas Carlton Lewis on his retirement from Georgia State University and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes the Speaker Pro Tem for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want everyone's attention, please. We rarely have an opportunity to honor someone after 40 years of public service, not just on our behalf, but on behalf of all Georgians. And Tom, please come up and join me. Today, we're recognizing Tom Lewis on his well-deserved retirement. He served under 8 governors, 6 chancellors, and 4 university presidents. He began his career down here on staff with Governor Joe Frank Harris, eventually serving for 5 years as his chief of staff. Most recently, we have relied on him as a friend and advisor for 28 years in service in government relations for Georgia State University, and most recently as the senior vice president and a personal senior advisor to the president. Would you please join me in welcoming Tom Lewis and thanking him for his service?
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, Madam Pro Tem, thank you very much. This is indeed a great honor for me. In the month of March, we all love watching basketball. By the way, Georgia State did make it this year and represented Georgia. But anyway, we like watching basketball, and we like those moments in time. This is a moment in time for me, and I appreciate it very much. It means more to me than anything else, and you are very kind. I've had the opportunity to work with some of you for many years, over many issues, discussing many things and many items, and I appreciate the leadership and the service that you have given this great state. I even remember when you were the dean, Representative Calvin Smyrie was a floor leader for Governor Harris. I have been here through 8 governors, 6 chancellors, 4 presidents at Georgia State University. And I have been here longer than some of you are old. So put simply, it is time to retire. I appreciate the hard work that you put in every day to make this state better. I appreciate the dedication you have, and I, for one, truly understand that. I respect the dedication that you have to your districts and to your constituents. And I know the difficult decisions that you have to make and are making. And I am grateful for all that you do for education and for higher education and for Georgia State University. We have been ranked as the 2nd most innovative institution in America. We have 53,000 students. We have programs and degrees that have national rankings. And it's all because of the help we got from you. And it does not go unnoticed a single day. So we appreciate it. Most of all, I appreciate the investment that you make in education. I will tell you that it's that investment that will give you your biggest and your best return. It's that investment that will pay the biggest dividends toward the future of our state. And I appreciate that, as we all do in education. Now, Mr. Speaker, I never thought for one day that I would be standing right here. So I would like to close with one statement, if I may. This bill, having received a requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk would read the next bill. Thank you, and God bless you.
Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 510.
House Resolution 510 by Representative Estration in the 104th. A resolution recognizing and commending Beauty P. Baldwin on her outstanding public service as an educator and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Chairman Estration for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In honor of Women's History Month, it's an incredible honor for us to have with us here today one of my constituents, Beauty P. Baldwin. Ms. Baldwin began her career in teaching after graduating from Savannah State College. She ultimately taught in the Columbus area and then taught in Gwinnett County, Georgia, and in 1984 became the first African-American female school superintendent in Georgia. She was superintendent of the Beaufort City Schools, where she served honorably until her retirement in the 90s. She then spent 16 years working on behalf of a Christian school, now a charter school in Gwinnett County, impacting the lives of countless Gwinnett County citizens. And in honor of her great work, the Gwinnett County School Board recently voted to dedicate an elementary school in Gwinnett County in her honor. So Beauty Baldwin Elementary School is in Gwinnett. It is such an honor to have Mrs. Baldwin as well as her husband Lucius with us here today. I ask that the House please recognize and welcome Mrs. Beauty P. Baldwin.
Good morning. And I want to thank my representative, Representative Chuck, for this honor, and especially during the celebration of Women's Month. I also would like to thank all that are standing with me today from Gwinnett County, for my sorority and my friends. Thank you so much for standing with us. I've been blessed with many, many years of working with children and working with my community. And my motto has always been, God has put us on this earth for one reason and one reason only, and that is to serve. So that's what I do, I serve. So thank you so very much for this honor, and just thank everybody for being here in support, and especially to Mr. Ralston, thanks so much, and to my representative, Representative Chuck. Thank you.
Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 535.
House Resolution 535 by Representative F. Stration, the 104th, commending the Mill Creek Varsity Competition Dance Team for winning the 2018-2019 6A, 7A GHSA State Dance Invitational Competition and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Representative Chuck. Well, I figure if Ms. Baldwin can get away with it, I can too. Chair recognizes Chairman F. Stration for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an incredible honor to have another outstanding group with us here today. This is the 2018-2019 Mill Creek Dance Team, the 2019 state champions for 6A, 7A, and GHSA. The team swept the 1, 2s, and 3s in solo competitions. There are 4 seniors, 3 juniors, 1 sophomore, and 2 freshmen. Some of the group is also up here in the gallery. And this group includes a valedictorian, top 10 student, as well as the Governor's Honors dance participants for 2017 and 18. We're joined today with Director Suzanne Muck of Gwinnett County's Mill Creek High School, the largest high school in the state of Georgia. If you would please join me in recognizing Ms. Muck to come forward.
Thank you for this invitation. Good morning, Speaker Ralston, Representative F. Stration, members of the Georgia House of Representatives, and guests. I am the Director of Dance and Head Dance Team Coach at Mill Creek High School in Gwinnett County, sponsor of the National Dance Honor Society, and a member of the GHSA Dance Advisory Board. Fine arts programs are vital to the progress in our youth and provide an opportunity to students to express themselves while excelling in the classroom. Last month, the Mill Creek Dance Team earned the title of GHSA State Champions in the inaugural state dance competition. In addition, this team of young athletes were featured in the 2018 Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl halftime show and parade. The level of commitment exhibited by these young ladies is outstanding. I am honored to serve as their coach and teacher. The members of the dance team are Captains Audrey Douchis and Jillian Padula, members Evelyn Douchis, Caitlin Guy, Alex Kopczynski, Diana Kim, Gabriela Martinez, Jessica Padula, Sydney Silver, and Ava Williams. We appreciate and thank you for your ongoing support of the arts in Georgia, and thank you again for this very memorable recognition. Thank you so much.
Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 676.
House Resolution 676 by Representatives Wilkerson of the 38th, Smith of the 41st, Allen of the 40th, Earhart of the 36th. A resolution commending the McEachern High School boys basketball team for winning the 2019 GHSA 7A State Basketball Championship and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Representative David Wilkerson for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my honor today to introduce the Class 7A Boys Basketball State Champions. McEachern High School, located in Powder Springs, finished a 32-0 record. And those 32 wins didn't just come against state schools. They were against nationally ranked teams across the country. Up in the gallery, joining us is our principal, Regina Montgomery, and several of the basketball players. If you stand so we can recognize you. Joining me up here right now is Coach Mike Thompson, along with several of the players. Coach Thompson was named Coach of the Year, National Coach of the Year. So congratulations on that. If you can come up and say a few words about the boys, that'd be awesome. Amen.
First, I'd like to thank all of you for this honor for us to be here today. It's a great pleasure to be here. Our basketball team this year, we have 4 of our leaders that are standing here with us today: Sharif Cooper, Isaac Okoro, Jared Jones, and Quentin McElroy. We had a great season. Our community is very proud. It's the first state basketball championship in our school's history. It's the first undefeated team at this class in the state of Georgia since 1979, and we spent the majority of this season ranked as the number 1 or 2 team in the United States. We're proud of that, especially being a public high school in Cobb County, where today so many private schools are doing that kind of stuff. So we're very proud of our guys, proud of our team, our coaching staff, Ms. Montgomery, who's with us today. And again, we want to thank you for the recognition that you're giving us today. It's a great pleasure, and we're very honored to be here. Thank you very much.
Let's take a picture.
All right.
Let's go ahead and slide in.
Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 267.
House Resolution 267 by Representative Clark, the 147th, Bonham the 72nd, Williams the 168th, Clanton the 75th, Blackman the 146th, and others. A resolution recognizing March 28, 2019 as National Guard Day at the state capitol and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Chairman Heath Clark for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, today is National Guard Day at the Capitol. This morning, if you missed it, Governor Kemp swore in about 4 or 5 new members into the Georgia National Guard as airmen and soldiers. Today, there's several pages, if you've seen them walking around, that are part of the Youth Challenge Academy, and they're here today serving as pages. Last year, 3,500 troops from the Georgia National Guard were deployed around the globe, either in the war on terrorism or helping train other foreign military forces. Currently today, there are about 2,000 men from the Army National Guard or the Air National Guard deployed around the world. Today we have Brigadier General Randall Simmons, Brigadier General Tom Grabowski, Brigadier General Tom Blackstock, Sergeant Major Roy Merchant, and lastly, I have the honor to introduce to this body for the first time our state's new Adjutant General of the Georgia National Guard. That's the commanding officer over the Georgia Department of Defense, Major General Tom Cardin.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for your leadership and service. We're honored to have you.
Mr. Speaker, Representative Clark, distinguished members of the House of Representatives, it's my honor to serve as the senior servant in the Georgia National Guard and represent the 15,000 members of your Georgia National Guard. This includes the Georgia Army National Guard, that's led by Brigadier General Randall Simmons, the Georgia Air National Guard, that's led by Brigadier General Tom Grabowski, and the Georgia State Defense Force, that's led by Brigadier General Tom Blackstock. Also up here, as mentioned earlier, is Command Sergeant Major Roy Marchant, who's our senior enlisted leader. We also have over 650 state employees and 208 federal employees. We're all very committed to our important missions at home and abroad. In the last year, we've deployed more than 2,600 Army National Guard soldiers and over 600 airmen around the globe to protect our freedom. As the state began its recovery efforts from Hurricane Michael, your Georgia National Guard deployed over 900 members of the Army and Air National Guard, along with members from our state defense force to help our communities in need. We remain globally engaged, not only abroad for the warfight, but we're also engaged with our state partnerships in the Republic of Georgia and the country of Argentina. Thanks to your leadership and support, we'll soon graduate our 17,000th Youth Challenge cadet. Our campuses at Fort Stewart, Fort Gordon, and Milledgeville continue to provide a second chance to young men and women who desperately need it. In addition, our new Job Challenge program will soon graduate its 350th student since beginning operation in 2015. We have members in every county in this state, and we constitute more than $917 million in economic impact. None of this would be possible without the support of our families and our employers. We've invited some representatives to be here in the chamber gallery, and I'll just ask them to stand and we'll applaud at the end if you will. Representing our families today, we have the family of Sergeant James Gilmer. Sergeant Gilmer serves in our 4th Civil Support Team. We have the family of Captain Ryan Swartz, who serves in our 265th Chemical Battalion. We have the family of Staff Sergeant Lavona Shockley. She serves in our 116th Medical Group, and the family of Sergeant First Class Jacqueline Daggett Bailey, who serves in our Recruiting and Retention Battalion. Representing our employers today, we have Mr. Chase Lott from Aerovac Life Team 86, Mr. Mark Bennett from Gulfstream, Mr. Steve Green from the Savannah Airport Commission. We have Mr. Bob Roth, the Director of Business Development for U.S. Government Accounts for Vertex Solution. We have Mr. Brian Roush from Delta Airlines and Mr. Clayton Boatman for Quality Technology Services. Please give them a round of applause for their sacrifice and support. In closing, I'd like to thank you all for what you do as our elected leadership. We're honored to serve you, the state of Georgia, and our great nation. May God bless you.
House will come to order. The House will be at order. Listen up, I've got some housekeeping matters to take up with you that are very important. First, the clerk's office has asked me to inform each of you that the agree-disagree folders will only be updated with new business over the next few legislative days. It is the responsibility of the member, not the clerk's office, not anyone else, to ensure that you do not discard the bills and amendments or the folder before it has been acted upon. Second, if a request for a privileged resolution has not been submitted to Legislative Council by noon Friday, it's tomorrow, it will not be drafted this session. That one's pretty simple. Finally, we are on day 38. The chair has been, I think, fair in accommodating requests for invite resolutions today. Today is the last day we will do invite resolutions this session. So I don't care who it is. No invite resolutions on day 39 or 40. We got a lot of business to do. We're going on now to the rules calendar. Going on to the rules calendar. Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 228.
House Resolution 228 by Representative Glanton of the 75th and others, urging the President of the United States Congress to enact legislation securing the citizenship of internationally adopted adult individuals. This resolution having been assigned to the Committee on Judiciary, that committee recommends that this resolution be adopted by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Representative Mike Glanton to present the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the House. I rise this morning for the purpose of presenting the substitute to House House Resolution 228. That would be LC 345572S. Before I present the resolution, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to acknowledge and recognize a few people that helped me with this resolution along the way. Of course, beginning with the Rules Chairman, Chairman Jay Powell, and the Rules Committee, the Judiciary Committee members and Chairman Barry Fleming, the Subcommittee Chair, Chairman Andy Welch, and the subcommittee members, as well as and especially for Representative Mary Margaret Oliver and Vice Chairman Todd Jones. And finally, my good friend, Representative Sam Park. And I'd like to take this opportunity this time, Mr. Speaker, to recognize and acknowledge some of the international adoptees that this resolution will impact and hopefully be passed in a favorable way. And so we have some international adoptees in the gallery this morning. I don't see where they are. Absolutely. So welcome to the People's House. And so, Mr. Speaker, the Adopt to Citizenship Act was introduced in both the 114th and 115th U.S. Congresses in 2015 and 2018. The 2018 bill was sponsored, a bipartisan effort, by Senator Roy Blunt of Missouri and Representative Adam Smith, a Democrat from Washington. The bill seeks to amend the Immigration and Nationality Act to grant automatic citizenship to all qualifying children adopted by a United States citizen parent. The bill stipulated that an individual born outside the U.S. who was adopted by a U.S. citizen parent shall automatically become a U.S. citizen when the following conditions are fulfilled. The individual was adopted by a U.S. citizen before the individual reached age 18. The individual was physically present in the United States in the citizen parent's legal custody pursuant to a lawful admission before the individual reached age 18. The individual never acquired U.S. citizenship in the citizen parent's legal custody pursuant to a lawful admission before the individual reached age 18. And finally, the individual never acquired U.S. citizenship before the enactment of the Child Adoption Act of 2000 by way of the U.S. Congress. Mr. Speaker, that is the gist of the resolution. And if there are questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them. If not, I would yield the well and ask for your favorable vote on House Resolution 228.
You have a question if you care to yield.
I'll yield, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative McLeod to your left for a question.
Absolutely.
Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
I have a question. So when this adult comes to this parent that's a citizen, after 5 years, you're eligible for citizenship. Can they not apply for citizenship at that point?
Okay, and thank you for the question, first of all. We are talking about folk that were adopted at between the age 0 to 17 years of age. However, when the act was enacted in 2000, they were already 18 or above. And so for whatever reason, they were not included in the original legislation, and for whatever reason, their parents did not go through the process for applying for citizenship for them. So this is basically a continuation of the Act for 2000 in Congress to bring these folk back in line with everybody else, regardless of their age.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Do you further yield?
I do, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Lopez Romero to your left for a question.
Does this gentleman yield?
Yes, Brother Lady.
I want to thank you for this resolution because isn't it true that what we're doing is giving an opportunity through the law to provide those that are most often than times end up in an authorized immigration status or and aren't able to file for citizenship, an opportunity through the law to do just that?
Absolutely. And in addition to that, they are subject to deportation just based on the fact that they did not complete the process for citizenship application.
That's correct. So isn't it true that the solution to these circumstances is to provide a law that would give an option for people to regularize their status?
Absolutely, and more so to continue a law that was already enacted in 2000.
Thank you, and I hope that we will continue to urging federal Congress to do comprehensive immigration reform.
Thank the lady for the question.
No further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are no more questions, and so I would yield the well and ask for your favorable consideration on House Resolution 228. Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this resolution now be adopted? All those in favor of the adoption of the resolution will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the adoption of House Resolution 228. The ayes are 164, the nays are 2. This resolution, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 2.
Senate Bill 2 by Senator Gooch, the 51st, Wilkinson the 50th, Harper the 7th, Hill the 4th, Kirk the 13th, and others. Be entitled an act to amend Title 46 of the Official Code of Georgia entitled relating to public utilities and public transportation so as to specifically authorize electric membership corporations and their affiliates to provide broadband services. This bill has been assigned to the Committee on Economic Development and Tourism. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes the chair of the House Rules Committee, Chairman Powell, to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, this is the House substitute to Senate Bill 2, and it basically does what we've been talking about doing for 2 years, and that is to authorize electric membership corporations in this state to provide broadband service. We passed a similar authorization about 2 or 3 times last year. It got hung up in the Senate. We've passed Representative Houston's bill, House Bill 23 this year, which authorized EMCs to provide broadband service, and it's currently in the Senate. And this started out as a companion bill for House Bill 23. Originated in the Senate, was changed somewhat in the Senate, came over to the House, and now it's here for you to act on again as far as authorizing broadband services to be offered by electric membership corporations. This is part of the Rural Development Council's initiative to extend broadband to unserved areas in the state. It is not a silver bullet. It does not mandate that broadband services be furnished, but what it does is allow another provider to enter the mix so that we've got a better opportunity to get broadband in our unserved areas. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this point.
You have a question. You did say you would yield.
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Chairman Dickey to your right for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for bringing this great bill. For those of us who live in rural Georgia and our businesses that have a real problem with broadband service, this will be a great first step to try to get those services to those of us in rural Georgia. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, if there are no other questions, I will yield the well and ask for your favorable consideration.
You do have other questions, but it's up to you.
I'll yield for one more.
Chair recognizes Representative Bentley to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it not true that I support this legislation because I represent a lot of rural communities and have a EMC located right in my home county?
I believe that to be true.
Thank you.
I yield the well.
We have other members that wish to be heard on the measure. The chair recognizes to speak to the bill Representative Al Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All my life I've been told a biblical story that's one of my favorites, but today I understand how David felt right before he went to the valley to meet Goliath. Takes on a new meaning. But I must stand in opposition to this bill. Why am I opposed to this bill? Because when this bill was first discussed, it was all about rural Georgia. And it has lost much of its clothing on its way to the throne. So the king is almost naked. Now, I know that there's been a lot of talk about the good, but the original bill was so good because we talked about taking broadband to the far reaches of Georgia that will not be able to enjoy economic development until it's there. Now, my district is Liberty County. In a corner of Liberty County, there is no broadband. So the children in the Riceboro district and the far reaches of Gum Branch are not able to do many of the things that are required in today's environment. I don't compromise has never been a bad word to me, and I love it in certain instances. But when I show up at a restaurant being promised a steak and I get a bowl of pork skins, I'm not very happy at the end of the evening. Now, when I get to the door, the maitre d' can kiss me, hug me, and tell me, forget the tip. But I'm going home very disappointed. This substitute SB2 has disappointed me because it has not delivered. Listen, I've heard the EMCs. I've heard the cable companies. I know the EMCs want it to be fair where they can be competitive. But I contend to you, check the legislation in the 1930s that gave birth to the EMCs, who were REAs then, and they were born because they were to take service to those who nobody else would take it to. Now, it's a funny thing when we grow up. While we're eating out of a pot that ain't got much food in it, we're humble. But as the pot rises and the food gets better, we lose our humility. These same folk now want to pay, and I can't blame them from a profit and loss standpoint. You should want to go where business is. You don't go picking blackberries where nothing but plums grow. But what about the promise to our grandparents? And it's just as important that we have broadband as it was then that we have electrical service in rural Georgia. And rural Georgia will never, ever reach its full potential. I don't care how many groups we put together, until we put the necessary infrastructure in place, it's not going to happen. And if you don't believe there's two Georgias, just drive outside of metro Atlanta and you begin to see the rest of Georgia. And it's not fair. I can't go home and tell my folk, I didn't bring you broadband, but I brought you a promise that we're going to do what we can do. Dr. King once says gradualism is neverism, and I still believe it's true. Now, I have one of the best EMC units, Coastal EMC, in this state, and they do a great job. But this does not answer the overlying problem. What about those that are not represented here? What about those who won't know how to go file appeals in Superior Court? What about those who don't enjoy what broadband brings and what it does? All I'm saying is, particularly you rural legislators, we owe it to our rural constituency. To you urban legislators, can you just throw me a bone this time? It's very hard to get a bone from you, but can you throw me one? This is not good for all of us. I caught two, but listen, I just appeal to you. Vote no on this bill. It's not what we came here to do. Let's get a good bill that restores many things that should have been in this final version. With that, Mr. Speaker, I will not yield for questions. I will yield the well, though.
Gentleman chooses not to answer questions. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on Senate Bill 2? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to withdrawing the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is withdrawn. Is there any objection to adopting the substitute offered by the Committee on Rules? The chair hears none. The Rules Committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 2 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. What purpose does Representative Derek Jackson rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true on line 193 that all disputes as it relates to Senate Bill 2 will be handled by the Superior Court judge versus the PSC?
Well, I think that would require a reading by the chair of the entire bill. I'm sure the gentleman has read it and knows about that which he speaks.
Thank you.
What purpose does Representative Turner rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, isn't it true that in this bill in line 38, we are defining broadband services as a rate not less than 200 kilobits per second from end users and in combination with such service providers? However, we define broadband services differently in current code in OCGA 50-4-1 to mean 25 megabits, which is significantly faster, and 3 megabits per second upstream.
I'm sure the gentleman is reading from the bill, so if the gentleman so states, I'm sure he read it accurately. What purpose does Representative Anulowicz rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that just a few years ago an EMC provider in my area had to return around $98 million to consumers because they diverted funds that could have been used to lower electric rates into some riskier services?
I seem to recall seeing something about that on the news.
Thank you.
What purpose does Representative Kelly rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, isn't it true that the reason that we set the venue for any disputes to be resolved in the superior courts is that those are most closest to the people, and that would save our rural constituents from having to come up here in Atlanta and suffer through the traffic like we have to every day?
I think that's a good reason if that was the motivation. What purpose does Chairman Houston rise?
Is it not true that the president...
This is a parliamentary inquiry?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it not true that our present farm bill gives EMCs the right to participate in broadband, and there's lots of money coming down that are available to rural areas? And is it not true if these other people had wanted to provide broadband to us, they would have done it a long time ago?
Well, I keep hearing there's a lot of money coming, but we haven't seen it yet. So,
yeah, well, I think it's already been passed in the farm bill.
Okay.
Thank you.
The lady so states. I know she knows that topic well. What purpose does Chairman Setzler rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that even though I share many of the concerns that Representative Williams mentioned, that this passage of this bill keeps it alive, allows us to move this through the process, and we might be able to resolve some of these things?
If the gentleman so states. What purpose does Representative Al Williams rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that I don't mind death by 1,000 cuts, but you still die? Is it not further true?
I don't think they would get past the first one or two with you.
Yeah, I'll give up. But is it not further true that I am prepared, should I lose this vote? I just request that I not be allowed to take my shirt off for the thrashing.
I would not quarrel with that. I'm not even sure how to answer that one. What purpose does Representative Frazier rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true, Mr. Speaker, that my over 300,000 residents in Burke County who need broadband expansion will not receive this for 5 to 7 years?
I don't know the timetable. I'm sure the lady's done some research on that. Okay, all those in favor of the bill are voting aye. Those opposed are voting no. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of Senate Bill 2, the ayes are 107, the nays are 62. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 135.
Senate Bill 135 by Senator Walker, the 20th, Jones, the 25th, Martin of the 9th, Harbin of the 16th, and others to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 9 and Title 34 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to workers' compensation so as to change certain provisions related to workers' compensation administration and benefits. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Industry and Labor. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Chairman Werkheiser to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have the unenviable spot of following the great orator. Senate Bill 135 is the annual legislative package for the State Board of Workers' Comp. Sections 1 and 2 eliminates the director and administrative law judge emeritus positions at the State Workers Board, but it only affects those positions after July of this year. And it will save the state approximately $500,000 a year. Sections 3 removes or will allow for injured workers to have continuing medical coverage for hardware removal and joint replacements outside the current 400-week cap on medical treatment if the original hardware and original joint replacement took place within those 400 weeks of medical coverage. The reason for this date is so that all cases will be treated equal, since this is when the original law went into place. So essentially, we are eliminating the cap for all these cases. Sections 4 through 6 adjust the weekly disability benefits from $575 to $675, the maximum rate. This maximum weekly wage for an injured worker can receive, they can receive has not been adjusted in many years. The stated goal of the compensation community has always been to keep the maximum disability rates at approximately 2/3 of the state's average weekly wage, which is $1,016, which is posted on the DOL website. Because this rate has not been adjusted in many years, this amount brings the intended balance up to date. It also increases the maximum death benefit for a sole surviving spouse from $230,000 to $270,000. So let me answer a couple of questions since I've gotten so many on this. First of all, was this bill a consensus and have the input of all parties? Yes, this bill is no different than all of the previous years. The State Workers Board is a year-long process allowing for input from all stakeholders and interested parties. Secondly, isn't the $100 a week a substantial increase over the current rate? On the surface, yes, but before this increase, Georgia was ranked 49th, only above Mississippi. This moves us up from the bottom, but still substantially less than the national average. And then lastly, the cost to the state. Because our subsequent injury trust fund has over $5 million, even if these every case were to reach maximum levels, it could be up to $2 million. There still would be a $3 million balance. So, and then finally, what will this bill do to past cases? It will have absolutely no impact on workers' comp cases that have been settled or adjudicated by the State Board of Workers' Comp. Mr. Speaker, that's the bill, and I will yield the well unless there's questions.
You have a question if you care to yield.
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes the Majority Caucus Whip, Representative Kelly, to your right for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true that in this bill what we're looking to accomplish in regards to the 400-week cap on medical is making sure that the group of individuals from July 1st, 2013 to today are not treated any different than those outside of the period before 2013, as well as those that will come after the passage of this bill?
Thank you for the question. Absolutely true. This makes sure that every single case in history is treated exactly the same.
Will the gentleman yield for one more question?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true that representatives from both the employers as well as injured workers have worked together over the last year to try and craft this legislation as a compromise between all parties involved?
Absolutely. This board is made up of 110 members of both claimants, employers, medical, insurers, self-insured, and they've agreed on this legislation. Thank you for the question.
Bill.
With that, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to yield the well and ask for your favorable consideration for Senate Bill 135.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 135 will vote aye. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of Senate Bill 135. The ayes are 173, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 72.
Senate Bill 72 by Senator Harper the 7th, Mullis the 53rd, Gooch the 51st, Jones the 25th, and others. Be titled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 27 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions relative to game and fish, so as to remove a prohibition on hunting on wildlife management areas. This bill having referred to the Committee on Game, Fish, and Parks, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes the chair of the Game, Fish, and Parks Committee, Chairman Rhodes, to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I have before you today the House substitute to SB 72. This is the department bill that does a few things. It codifies the DNR rules and regs that we did last year. It makes it legal to hunt with a .30 caliber or higher air gun on private property in places that you have verifiable permission. It gives the DNR commissioner and the board the authority to extend deer season in certain counties or parts of the state if he sees fit with a bow and arrow only. It makes the shoal bass the official riverine sport fish of the state of Georgia, and since everyone calls our conservation rangers game wardens, we're making that official change to make their official name game wardens. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'll be glad to answer a question.
Do you yield for any questions?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Chairman Fleming to your left for a question.
To the gentleman in the well, this bill deals with hunting, correct?
Yes, sir. Some of it does.
Some of it does. What type of animals?
Well, did you look at the bill?
I saw possums, I saw raccoons, I didn't see rabbits. That's what I was worried about.
I think we've got the rabbits taken care of.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Mr. Speaker, I'll take one more.
Do you yield for one more, did you say?
One more, yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Representative Dreyer to your left for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
I'm generally not opposed to this. I just have a safety concern. I'm usually in the mountains with my boys. They're 8 and 10. And I put orange vests when we're not in, when we're in wildlife management areas. But if somebody's hunting with a silencer or an air gun, it's going to make me hard to know that we are potentially in danger. It's a concern of mine. How would you respond to that?
I would just say for the last few years, you've been able to use a suppressor on private property in places you have verifiable permission. We did air guns the same way on private property in places you have verifiable permission.
Does the gentleman further yield?
Yes, sir.
But this would expand the number of folks shooting guns on public lands with guns that the general public can't easily hear. Isn't that correct?
It's the same for air guns right now. They can be used the same way currently suppressors can be used.
Okay. Thank you.
With that, Mr. Speaker,
You have no further questions.
Ask for a green vote. Thank you.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of Senate Bill 72. The ayes are 152, the nays are 22. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to Senate Bill 6.
Senate Bill 6 by Senator Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Albers of the 56th, Kirk of the 13th, Robertson of the 29th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 5 of Title 42 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to general provisions regarding correctional institutions of the state and counties, so as to prohibit the use of unmanned aircraft systems to deliver or attempt to deliver contraband to a place of incarceration. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes the chair of the House Transportation Committee, Chairman Tanner, to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I bring you Senate Bill 6 for your consideration. This Senate bill does two main things. The Department of Corrections has been having an issue for the last several years with unmanned aircraft coming over the state prison system, flying over the fence lines, dropping contraband into the prison system. They have about 300 incidences a year where that occurs, and they catch about 7 a year in the process of doing that. This bill simply adds a subsection to the state penal code related to places of incarceration, prohibiting the use of unmanned aircraft or drones to do one of two things. Number one, carry a payload that is already prohibited by code. So if they're carrying something that's prohibited to be there in the prison system, or to photograph the facility, and it's important for criminal purposes. So if you're just flying near or around a prison for no criminal purpose and your drones takes pictures, that's not criminal. But if it's specific for the intense criminal purposes, then that would be a violation of this subsection. That's all the bill does. This has been asked for several years by our Department of Corrections to help them protect the integrity of their guard line at the facilities. Mr. Speaker, with that, I'd ask for favorable consideration, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
You do not have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of Senate Bill 6 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of Senate Bill 6. The ayes are 166, the nays are 4. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes Chairman Parsons for an announcement.
Thank you, Speaker Ralston. Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications needs to meet for a short meeting, and we're going to meet in LOB 515, and we'll make it at 1:15. we have a measure we need to take a look at, energy, utilities, and telecommunications at 115, LOB 515. Thanks, Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative McLean for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Working Family Caucus will be having lunch in room 307 CLOB upon adjournment. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Alan Powell for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the Regulated Industries Subcommittee on Lottery Oversight Gaming, would they please show up over to Office 613 for lunch? We're going to have some general discussions about pending legislation that may be coming up in the future.
I want to say something about the honesty of one of our members. The Majority Caucus whip found a $20 bill on the floor of the House and has turned it in. That's what I thought. So the moral to this story is, Representative Kelly, the next time you find money on the floor of the House, don't turn it in. So I'm going to appoint the messenger of the House to be the arbiter of the proper owner of the $20 bill, and I'm leaving it with her. And if nobody claims it, we may just let her have it. What purpose does Chairman Welch rise?
Mr. Speaker, I believe my name is on that bill. Andrew Jackson is on that bill, I believe.
I thought that was Mac or Derek or Chair. What purpose does Chairman Martin rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Would it be appropriate this time, Mr. Speaker, for the ask unanimous consent of the House just to award the $20 to the lady at this time?
The chair would appreciate that very much.
I move unanimous consent to award the money to the lady.
No objection. It is done. What purpose does Representative Chokas rise?
Pursuant to Rule 133, I'd like to abstain from this vote.
This House, the House, let me start over. The House will be in recess until 1:45.